Hi there, thank you for joining me for another Tuesday video. So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I mean, you guys have, if you're a regular to my channel, which I hope you are, and if you're new, hi there. I do these improvisations on a practice pad or on the drum set and I share them. Some of them are the Sunday morning rambles that I do, when I sit down and just play whatever comes. And I get questions from people saying, where do you get those ideas from? Are some of these ideas written out and so on and so forth? None of them are transcribed or written them out. If you wish to, that's great. I'd be honoured, because if you think it's something you'd like to play, well, that's fantastic. So thank you. I know I had a little bit of that. And if I had a bit more time, I'd probably do some myself for you, but I just really haven't got the time at the moment to do that kind of stuff because I'm prepping for tours and various things at the moment. So before I carry on and pipe on loads about this improvisation, which I'll do in 3 sections. Firstly, I'll just let you see it and watch it. It's only a minute long or so, it's very, very short. But I thought when I watched it the other day, it'd be great to sort of answer some of these questions that people ask me about the ideas, the development of the ideas and so on. So here's the solo. Okay, so there it is. Very short. It's not even 2 or 3 minutes long. A nice, very short, succinct little drum improvisation, which I thought I've packed in quite a few ideas that I could talk about. So when I first sit down to play one of these, there's a few things that go through my mind that I really hope that I can create on the drum set when I'm playing. And these are those points. So firstly, I like messing around with mixed rates. So I could go quavers to 16th notes to 32nd notes, for instance, or I could go 8th note triplets to semi-quaver triplets, and so on. So mixed rates is the first thing. Then number 2, repetition, and that could be of a tonal idea or of a phrase. And then 3, developing phrases. So we've got to have phrases to start with and then trying to develop them. Then number 4, using spaces and broken phrases. So having plenty of spaces within the rhythms. Don't be afraid of not playing anything. Try not to stitch everything together so it's just a massive array of notes. Using linear patterns as part of the mixed rates. So we can play mixed rates with our hands, but we can also start to change it up with our bass drum as well, or double bass drum, or even our hi-hat. Then there's using linear patterns as part of the phrase. So you could go hands to feet, to the bass drum or to the hi-hat. All those kind of things are really, really useful just to keep things moving around so people hear the same phrase but in slightly different tones and colours. And then bringing in a groove or a rhythm. You don't always have to do this, but I quite like to do that, depending on what style I'm playing or what feel I'm in. If I'm straight or if it's a swung feel, then I'll bring a rhythm in to kind of orchestrate that, or sometimes bring it in to take it away from what I've just been doing. So, you can use the coming to a rhythm. It's not like copping out and playing something that people are going to go, oh, I recognise this. It's not that. It's giving a change, again, a colour change, and then sometimes flipping it around to something else, or just welcoming all the solo to a rhythm that people think they might hear, be straight, rock, funk, jazz, or whatever. And then finally, an important thing for me is always dynamics. There's not too much of that in this solo, but there are plenty of accents as well. So, you know, in this solo, I would say listen for the accent on the bass drum. Sometimes I'm jabbing with the bass drum a bit more and accenting various strokes with my hands. And yes, for those people that sometimes say, why are you playing a different grip? I am using match grip, as you saw. So let's start to break the solo down into the 3 sections. So first of all, here is section 1. So I'm going to check on my computer as I go through this because I want to make sure I get all the points across, because otherwise I'll rabbit and I'll forget some of the main points. So I'm going to read some of this out as we go, so apologies for that. So you've just seen section 1. So I start with a phrase that could be felt in either 8th notes or parts of a 16th note. I don't really give the game away until the next little part of that solo. And then I develop that idea into single notes, double notes, and then eventually some linear bass drums in there as well. And I start picking out a 16th note. But actually, I think my initial idea for the first opening phrase, da-da-da, da-da-da, was off a triplet. Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. And then I go into digga-digga-digga-digga. So I establish a triplet to start with, and I mess about with the rates a bit, with 16th notes, some paradiddles, those kind of things. Again, I'm not getting into the major nuts and bolts of it because I don't want to transcribe it completely. And then I start adding the bass drum because I love doing that, bringing some little ideas and bringing the bass drum in through the phrase, or maybe at the end of the phrase to resolve the phrase. Then, this is quite specific, at 0-0, so in 13 seconds, 0-0.13, I start to mix the rates a little bit. I play the 4-stroke rough phrase that every drummer from Max Roach to John Bonham has played. You know, snare, top tom, floor tom, bass, digga-da-boom, digga-da-goom, 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 in my best drum singing voice. But I developed that, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Then at 0-0-14, I start to play linear 8th note triplets between my hands and feet to further mix up the rates. So we had a pulse of digga-digga, 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 digga-digga to start with, and then I go digga-da-boom, digga-da-boom. I play that phrase, and coming out of that I play da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So really, if I was going to sing those rates from the very beginning, we get da-da-da, da-da-da, digga 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 digga. So I know I didn't sing it in the order that I actually play them, but they are the rates that I'm messing with, and there's our tempo just in that opening section. So already you're starting to see I'm breaking it up. And with that linear phrase, the 8th note linear, I'm going snare bass bass, snare bass bass, snare bass bass, you know? So I'm breaking it back so it feels like the rhythm from going digga digga, it's suddenly going da, it suddenly feels like it's slowing down slightly, but of course it's not. And then I play like, to mess with your mind again, I move from like 8th note triplets, dagga da dagga da, to like a 7-stroke rough kind of digga digga da, digga digga da, digga digga da, digga digga da, digga digga da. Around the drums, again, bringing the rates back up to like a full-time, double-time rate, so moving between the two, da 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 type idea. Again, tempo's the same, but I'm just pushing and pulling those beats and messing with how that sounds. And then at 23 seconds in, I then start mixing up. Something I really like to do when I'm playing is start to play with plenty of spaces and break up the beat. So people might think, oh, here he goes, he's messing with those rates again, you know, we're going to go singles, we're going to go quavers to 60s to 30 seconds, blah, 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 same with the triplets, blah, blah, blah. But then I like to break it up completely. So I'm playing kind of a over the beat. And the hi-hat's going, so you feel the pulse. And I'm just playing that phrase over the toms, just to let, for a minute, just make everyone think, you know, what happens next, because I think it adds tension. people at that point are thinking, oh, where's he going to go to next? Is he going to go back to some of the triplets, some of the semiquaver triplets, blah, blah, blah. So that is there as a kind of a respite, just to let people sort of start guessing and think, what's happening? And I think it makes it interesting for not just me, and it could be a little thing that I use just to think about, give me time to think, what am I going to do next? But I think it's also good for the listener because it just adds a bit of tension. And then some more mixed phrases up here, singles and doubles, and some linears, and then we're sort of into section 2. Okay, so now we're into section 2. And from 0:43 to like 1 minute 4 seconds, we have a new section of improvisation. Firstly, I repeat the broken phrase from earlier, that da dum da dum da dum da, almost like, sort of 3/2 type idea or whatever. And then I find a new phrase which I play across the kit, which I touched on in section 1 when I played the digga-digum, 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 snare, first tom, floor tom, bass, the John Bonham thing, and Max Roach and Buddy Rich and Ringo Starr, everyone's done it. So then I start developing this phrase, which is felt more on a 16th note than as a 4-stroke rough. So more like digga 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 digga. So it goes over the beat. It doesn't go digga 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 like a 4-stroke rough would. Okay, so we're thinking more 16th notes. Again, snare, first tom, floor tom, bass drum. Digga 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 digga. I just really like the feel of it, and I remember this is an improv. It's not something that I thought about beforehand. I stumbled across the sticking in a different rate. So as I say, instead of digga-digga, 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 it was babba-dabba, digga-digga, 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 digga-digga. So it's the same sticking from earlier, but I was playing it in a different rate, and that shows you that the same 4 beats can sound different if you mess with the rates a bit. It's a great thing, and I think Mark Giuliano goes on about that in his book at great length, and I will talk about it too because I really enjoy doing that. And it's nice that I stumbled across that he loves it too because he's one of my favourite drummers. And then I would start to develop on that feel, digga-digga, digga-digga, digga-digga. And I think of other linear patterns. At one point I do a 16th note, digga-digga, between my right hand and floor tom. I mean, not as fast as Tony Williams or Vinnie Colaiuta or something like that, but it's just something that fits in with that pulse, digga-digga, 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 snare, floor tom, bass, digga-digga, digga-digga. And it just, by that time, I'm starting to think of all the little linear patterns, which there's millions, aren't there? You could come up with when the tempo is not too fast, and you can just fit them in with that phrase. And then I come back to that phrase again, digga-digga, digga-digga, and I place it in different parts of the bar, so it's not always on a 1, because again, wherever you place that, it's going to feel like the beat's being thrown off a bit, because it's going across the beats anyway. So I start to play with that a little bit. Okay, and last but not least is section 3. So moving from 1 minute 3 seconds in, I then move to the ride cymbal and play this kind of pseudo Latin thing, which again I felt like playing at the time. As I said earlier, sometimes that can bring your audience into the feel that you've been developing and say, here we are guys, there's your resolve, that's where we're at. And sometimes, not in this instance, but in some other instances, you could throw it in to play it and, get them off the scent of where you are, to think, oh, we're going this way, and then you could bring them back somewhere else. So think about how you could fit rhythms and grooves into some of these things, for different jobs and for different roles, pardon the pun. Well, hey. And it just happened to grab me at the time. That was the rhythm I wanted to play. And then moving back again from 1 minute 9 seconds, we go to the phrase from section 2 again, digga-digga-dum, 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 digga-digga-dum. So a repetition, I'm starting to come back to that again to reel them back into where I was. And then from there, I go into some semiquaver triplet and mixed rate stuff again from section 1. So I'm starting to now take me and the listeners back on the journey, and viewers, back on the journey from where we started. Again, it wasn't intentional, it's just kind of what happened, but somewhere programmed in my brain are these kind of, a bit like a songwriter, I guess, you've got these various things you can work on. And as I listed earlier at the start of this video, those are the things that are on my shopping list of things that I want to do when I'm playing, you know, and it just keeps things really, really interesting and keeps things moving along. And sorry about the noises outside, I don't really know what's going on, but someone's doing something. It's Sunday, so I guess they're up to something. And yeah, then the ending really was just felt at the time. I mean, if I were going to count a band back in, I'd probably give a much more musical cue and something a bit more sensible. Of course, I wasn't counting bars. It wasn't supposed to be a duration of a head or a, you know, a 32, 64 bar solo or something. It's just an improv. So the ending just happened as it happened. It's not the most sort of crash bang wallop of an ending, but then again, doesn't need to be. It was just, you know, for me, it's what I thought the full stop would feel like musically, rhythmically on that improvisation. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that. That's just like a little breakdown of just one of my improvs. But as I say, some of those things that I've included in this video, you know, I use on all of my performances when I'm playing solos with a band, or I'm just doing a drum clinic and I'm playing in an opening solo or something. These are the things that are quite important to me. Some of them you guys may already know, some of them you might not, but as any sort of video like this, if there's something in there that is useful and new to you, please take it away and use it. And if you feel you need to write to me and ask any questions, then please do so. You know where I am. The email is at the end of this video, and also if you look down below in the description, you can find my Instagram and all those other ways of getting in contact with me. So once again, thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. Keep sharing the videos. I've had 25 more followers this month, which is amazing, and it's growing. So keep spreading the word, keep spreading the faith. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Keep on drumming, and I shall see you on Friday. Take care, guys. Bye.